Joining us right now, former White House Chief of Staff Andy Card. Mr. Card, welcome back to Houston's Morning News.
Matt, Patrick, it is great to be with you. Thank you for having me on.
Andy Card, it is great to have you on. I have as my Facebook profile picture you whispering into the ear of George W. Bush. I think that is an iconic photograph. It will go down in history as a photograph that will always remind us of what took place. I was reading over the weekend that as you were whispering into the ear of the president, Mr. President, America is under attack, you then stepped back so he couldn't ask you a question. Is that right?
It is. I chose my words very carefully. I didn't spend a lot of time choosing the words, but I chose my words carefully, and when I delivered them such that I would convey the magnitude of the challenge that he was facing and not invite a question. So I literally stepped back from him so that he couldn't ask me a question, and I am pleased that he reacted the way he did, because he did nothing to introduce fear to those very young students.
We are getting an awful lot of people, Andy, that are saying, the president didn't know what to do, that he had to look like he was, scared to death on his face, deer in the headlights. That just raises my blood pressure. Here is a man that, in my opinion, has a look on his face that is tremendously presidential. One can only imagine what's going on behind his eyes, what he is thinking. And you're right. What was he supposed to do? Stand up and scare the children?
Yeah, I thought he did exactly the right thing. I mean, if he had, jumped up like his hair was on fire, or that would have satisfied the terrorists. If he had reacted, I'm going to say in any way that would have had the students be afraid,
right,
that would have been bad. So I did not want him to do anything that would... think about the audience that was in front of him.
Oh, my God.
He had truly young and innocent second graders, and then he had more mature and cynical, maybe, seasoned reporters.
Right.
So he had two very contrasting audiences sitting in front of him,
Andy,
and he did nothing to disrupt either audience.
Andy, let me ask you to hang on real quick, because I want to talk to you about what took place after you left the room with the president. He actually got angry with you a little bit, and I want to talk about that.
Back to Matt Patrick.
KTRH News Time is 8:52. We're joined by former White House Chief of Staff Andy Card. He's the gentleman that whispered into President George W. Bush's ear that America was under attack. Now, you guys leave the room, and you say the president says to you, this is my understanding, this is what you wrote. The president says to you, we're getting on the plane, we're going to Washington, and you very politely say, no, Mr. President, that's not happening.
We were actually on the plane when he made the demand to go to Washington, and I had been talking with the Secret Service, and as well as the pilot of Air Force One and the crew from the United States Air Force, and all of them were, number one, skeptical about going to Washington without understanding what other attacks might be coming.
Right.
And the Secret Service was adamant, and so I tried to be cool, calm, and collected in responding to the president, but he was not so cool, calm, and collected, challenging me.
Was he really mad at you? I mean,
oh yeah, no, he was pretty angry with me, but I just said we've got to let the dust settle. We've got to find out what's happening. I just cannot recommend that you go back there without understanding the nature of any other attacks and whether or not you'd be safe, and whether or not it would be safe to bring Air Force One back to Washington, D.C.
And it's certainly...
But anyway, it worked out terrific. Look, he did a fabulous job that day. He was focused. There wasn't a doubt in my mind that he recognized the awesome responsibilities that a president has, and they are lonely responsibilities to preserve, protect, and defend. And the Constitution that has the president take that oath does not have a conditional clause to it. You don't get to say, I'll do it if it's easy or if everybody understands, or
right,
I'll do it only with perfect knowledge.
Right.
So it's a great burden for a president to carry, and I watched President George W. Bush carry the burden in just a phenomenal way. He was
question.
Terrific.
No question about it. Andy, I want to thank you so much. You are always very gracious with your time when we reach out to you and ask you to come on, and certainly with this passing anniversary.
I'll be in Houston tomorrow. I'm in College Station at Texas A&M in the Bush School right now, and I tell you, I love being in Texas, and College Station is not that far away from Houston.
Well,
Come visit.
I would love to. Former White House Chief of Staff Andy Card joining us here this morning. Thank you, Mr. Card. We appreciate it.